People who grew up in the 1990s were not raised for the world they are living in now. That is the truth. They were trained for stability, but they grew up inside constant change. The 1990s felt safe, predictable. The future looked clear. And then suddenly everything shifted. The internet arrived. Social media followed. Life became faster, louder. This generation didn't choose that shift. It happened while their brains were still forming. They learned calm first, then they learned chaos. And that is why they are special. They are the bridge generation. Too old to be digital natives, too young to stay fully analog. They are the only ones who speak both languages fluently. And this video is the story of how that transition made them the most resilient generation in history. If you recognize yourself or someone you love in this story, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to support the channel. Because this video is the story of how that difficult transition gave them a unique, quiet power. The ability to adapt where others might break. The children of the promise. Have you ever wondered why people born in the 90s believe so deeply in the future? Because they were the children of the promise. In the 90s, the world felt like it was finally on the right track. The Cold War ended. Globalization promised a world without walls. Then came the dot-com boom. While they were too young to build that economy, they were the first ones raised to inherit it. They were the eager students, mastering computers before they could even ride a bike. They were preparing themselves to lead this new, borderless world. They didn't train their minds for chaos because the world told them the hard times were over. And that's why, when reality finally shifted, it was a shock. But because they grew up learning so fast, they didn't break. They were already unconsciously training to adapt. Being told you are special did something powerful to this generation. It gave them audacity. In the 1990s, schools and parents focused heavily on self-esteem. Kids were praised often. You are smart. You are talented. You are gifted. Critics often say this made them fragile, but they are wrong. It actually made them ambitious. It taught them that they were capable of greatness. So when they became adults, they didn't just want a job, they wanted a purpose. They don't set high standards because they are afraid of failure. They set high standards because they refuse to settle for mediocrity. They were told they had potential, and they possessed the self-respect to demand a life that fulfills it. That is not entitlement. That is drive. Participation trophies and the value of presence. Do you remember participation trophies? In the 90s, you didn't have to win to get a reward. You just had to show up, play a game, get a medal. Critics say this made them entitled or addicted to attention. But let's look closer. Those trophies didn't teach them to demand victory without effort. Instead, it taught them a deeply human lesson: inclusivity. It taught them that every member of the team matters, not just the star player. So when they seek validation today, likes, comments, feedback, it is not because they are vain. It is because they were raised to believe that no one should be invisible. Proof of this? Look at how they treat others. They are the generation that championed mental health support, inclusivity, and community building online. They don't just seek attention for themselves. They give it generously to others. They are not addicted to the spotlight. They are addicted to connection. They want a world where showing up is enough to be valued. The latchkey kid independence. There is a paradox here. They were praised, yes, but they were also left alone. This was the era of the latchkey kid. School ended at 3 p.m. Parents came home at 6 p.m. For 3 hours, they ruled empty houses. No tracking apps, no smartphones. They microwaved their own dinner. They solved their own boredom. This built a fierce independence. They know how to figure things out. They are resourceful. They don't need hand-holding because they raise themselves for 3 hours every day. The death of boredom. And in those empty hours, they experienced something rare. True boredom. The cartoons ended. The rain fell. They stared at the wall. They hated it. But that boredom forced them to be creative. They built forts. They invented stories. Today, boredom is dead. We fill every gap with scrolling. But this generation remembers what deep creativity feels like. They know that good ideas come from silence, and they are fighting to find that silence again. The privacy paradox. In the 90s, a diary had a lock. Thoughts were secrets. You wrote to figure out who you were, not to perform for an audience. Today, the screen replaced the page. We share curated versions of our lives. But this generation feels the exhaustion of that performance. They know the difference between living and content, and slowly they are starting to pull back. They are reclaiming their private lives. The liminal space of early internet. Do you remember the early internet? It was ugly. It was slow. And it was magical. No influencers, no filters, just Lone Wolf 99 talking to Angel Heart. You were judged by your wit, your words, and your thoughts, not your appearance. This created a liminal space, a safe zone where you could be honest without fear. Today, the internet has evolved. It is no longer just a space for conversation. It has become a global stage. It demands your face, your video, your personal brand. But because this generation lived through that early era, they possess a special kind of wisdom. They know that a person is more than their profile picture. They know that true connection happens in the mind, not just on the screen. They navigate this visual world, but they never forget the power of raw, unfiltered conversation. Information overload and the always-on brain. Their constant phone checking isn't just a habit, it is a response to a massive shift in how the world works. In the 1990s, information was something you went to find. You went to the library, you watched the evening news. When the TV was turned off, the information stopped. The brain had time to rest. Today, information comes to them. Emails, messages, news updates. It pours into their pockets 24 hours a day. This doesn't trigger a survival mode, but it does create a state of permanent readiness. They feel the need to stay updated, to stay relevant. They are constantly processing a stream of data that never ends. While this can be exhausting, it has also developed a unique skill. They have become expert scanners. They can sift through massive amounts of noise to find the signal. They are the first generation capable of processing the speed of the modern world while still remembering the value of a quiet moment. The broken promise of meritocracy. They followed the formula perfectly. Get good grades, go to university, get a job, buy a house. It was a contract. But when they graduated, the economy changed. The 2008 crisis hit. Degrees became expensive paper. The ladder was pulled up. They are tired, not because they are lazy, but because they are playing a game where the rules change every year. And yet, they keep going. They reinvented their careers. They built the gig economy. They found new ways to work. Society tells them they are behind. No house by 30, no kids by 35. But look at the map. They are navigating a housing crisis and inflation that their parents never faced. They feel guilty for resting because time is money. But here is the shift. They are starting to realize that the old milestones don't apply. They are redefining what adult means. Maybe it's not owning a house. Maybe it's owning your peace. Comparison fatigue. In the 90s, you competed with your neighbors. Today, you compete with the internet. You see the highlight reels of millions. It creates comparison fatigue. It feels like running a race where the finish line keeps moving. But this generation is smart. They are beginning to see through the filter. They know screens lie. They are learning to value their own messy, real journey over someone else's curated perfection. Nostalgia as a reset button. So how do they navigate this fast-paced world? They have developed smart strategies to keep their balance. Take their love for old shows like Friends or Harry Potter. This isn't about living in the past. It is about energy management. In a modern day full of surprises, new emails, new trends, new crises, their brains are constantly working. Watching a familiar show where they already know the ending gives the brain a break. It is predictable. It is safe. It allows their mind to switch off the alert mode and truly rest. They aren't escaping reality. They are simply recharging their batteries so they can handle reality better tomorrow. Humor as perspective. And then there is their humor. Have you noticed how weird their memes can be? A frog on a unicycle? A random cat? This isn't just nonsense. It shows a highly flexible mind. They recognize that modern life can be absurd, endless Zoom meetings, confusing technology, rapid changes. Instead of getting angry, they choose to laugh at the absurdity. They don't need a traditional joke with a punchline. They find humor in the chaos. This ability to find something funny in a stressful situation is a sign of high resilience. It keeps them light. It keeps them moving. Emotional intelligence. Finally, they possess a new kind of vocabulary. They talk about boundaries. They reflect on their inner self. Older generations might call this overthinking, but in reality, it is clarity. They are the first generation to realize that understanding yourself is a practical skill, not a weakness. By naming their feelings, they manage them better. By setting boundaries, they work more effectively and love more honestly. They aren't just talking about feelings to complain, they are upgrading the way humans communicate. They are building relationships based on understanding and respect, making them better partners, better friends, and better leaders. The hybrid nature. And this brings us to the most important point. They are the hybrids. They possess a dual citizenship. They lived in a world where you had to look someone in the eye to understand them. This gave them high emotional intelligence. But they also mastered the internet, giving them speed and efficiency. They are the only ones who can bridge the gap. They know how to use an app to order dinner, but they also know the value of cooking a meal for a friend. They know how to text fast, but they know when to put the phone down and listen. They don't let technology replace connection. They use technology to enhance connection. And in a world that is becoming more robotic, that human touch is their greatest asset. If you are part of this generation, stop judging yourself against a map that no longer exists. You are not lost. You are pioneering. You are the bridge between history and the future. And bridges have to be strong because they carry the weight of both sides. You survived the great shift. You are still here. And you are doing better than you think. Before you go, let's do something analog. Close your eyes. Think of your favorite memory from the 90s. A moment with no screens, no cameras, just you. What was it? Share it in the comments. Let's turn the comment section into a time capsule. Because if we don't remember how it felt, who will?